Okay. So first question to start off would be, how have you found the season just gone?
Well, I think, obviously, really disappointed that it's been cut so short, and after a really positive start, I think that this season we've been able to really play some exciting stuff. I think Wilkes did a fantastic job for the club through a sort of difficult sort of transitional phase, really, and now Kev's been able to add to that sound base, brought in some new players, some really attacking players, and I think the season's, although cut short, had been one that was going to be full of promise, and that's really one of the main frustrations, because when you look at some of the players we had, the performances we put in, you just sort of did start to wonder where we might have got to. So that's one frustration, really.
Yeah, one thing that, no offence to Wilkes or anybody, but one thing that I heard from a couple of supporters like last season was one issue was the consistency, whereas this season it's not been a problem, and if anything it's been like a major positive. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think we've been able to keep the ball more. That's been one of the key changes, and when you keep the ball more, then it tends to enable you to have some more consistency. And I think one of the main reasons for that is that we've got a stronger team, and so that enables you to play in a different way. And that really, one of the main reasons for that is because of some of the other teams in the area have not been paying such unsustainable wages. So that brings us back into the market in a way that for a few seasons we just frankly weren't able to compete, particularly with the competing demands of the club of trying to move the grounds and increase the specification of the ground. So that made it very difficult, and I think that now that's been embedded and been completed from our point of view in the grounds now, for the fantastic facility that it is, and also coupled with the fact that some of the other local teams aren't continuing the unsustainable wage structure. It's freed up some players, and Kev's been, fantastic in the way he's been able to bring Byron and Josh in, and also Callum and Noah as well, who he knew from his youth team period and the academy side of it. And they've come in and really, it was going to be their breakthrough season, I think. And that's, again, as I mentioned previously, a little bit frustrated, but still young lads, so we'd expect to see them develop further next season.
Do you think we're one of the clubs that's benefited from the pandemic, even though we've when it was finished we were obviously second despite not playing many games, but in terms of the wages has helped us, like you say, to be back in there?
Yeah, I'm not sure to say that we've benefited from the pandemic. I don't think anybody's really benefited from it, to be honest. It's just really unfortunate that it's come along and it's stopped all the football. So I don't know if anybody's really benefited. But what I do think is that because of the way the club's run and the excellent people that we've got in charge from the very top all the way through the club, right through to the first team, of course, reserves, youth teams, the women's section, it's so well run that I just think that we'll be in a position to bounce back quite quickly from some of the financial impact, and I think a number of other clubs will find that very difficult.
Definitely. What would you say is your highlight of the season?
Highlight this season? Well, that would have to be the County Cup win. To go and win the cup as we did over the two matches. And pick it up at last off. I think it's great for the players because throughout the course of your career, it's rare that you get to actually pick up some silverware. So that was fantastic. We thoroughly deserved it over the two games, and to win the County Cup, I think, is always really good one for the fans as well. To be confirmed as the best non-league club in Suffolk was nice for them. So that was the real highlight for me. But I think also there were a couple of home games. I think it's sort of Stratford and Bromsgrove as well, where some of the football was absolutely scintillating, and just the way that we passed teams off the park was a real highlight through those two matches.
Yeah, but not only with the County Cup being a highlight, winning it itself, but like the way in the first leg that having the 3-1 advantage going in second leg, that gave us a real strong foothold as well.
Yeah, it did. I think cast my mind back to the end of the first leg and the victory that we got. I just think we sort of thought we didn't get we could have got an even better result. I think we could have really put it to bed in that match. I remember some of the football was absolutely fantastic, and we come away thinking, we've left the door ajar a little bit there. And it should have been done and dusted. If it had been 4-0 after the first leg, I don't think many people could have complained about it. So, in the end, the 3-1 wasn't quite the scoreline we wanted. But just been on the guard. Second leg, always tricky. But, deserved winners in the end.
Yeah, 100%. In terms of the league, how do you kind of look back on the few games that we did get to play?
Yeah, really, really good. Because many of the teams that we played and played off the park, really, Stratford and certainly they're right up there as well. Hitchin as well. It was rare for us to beat Hitchin. So looking at the games that we played in a way at Banbury's always difficult. Good result at Alvechurch. So I think joint top, weren't we, when the season finished? So I know we're only really on in the season, but I think already word had got round amongst the other clubs that we were a real threat and a team that they should watch out for. And I think that's absolutely credit to the excellent football that we played in the short number of games that we managed to fit in.
Yeah, and as you kind of alluded to earlier, we've been a real team together. Jake Dyes pitched in with a couple of goals. You got Pagey, Folksy, etc., all getting on the score sheet. Clean sheets as well. It's been a real team effort.
Yeah, absolutely. We've been really, really strong. We've got good squad, good competition, all over the pitch, starting, Mark on goals, so solid and such an experienced goalkeeper at this level. And he just sort of breeds that confidence right throughout the team. And it's such a reassuring presence to have him there. And also we've got Owen, the young goalkeeper as well, who's working really hard and improving on his game. But then you look, sort of the back four is... We've got options. We've got the two morphs, of course, but Josh can come in as well and play there. We've got Cal and Jake Dye, I think, been absolutely fantastic during the matches that we played. So many times he's been man of the match, weighing in with goals. And actually, there's a strong argument to say that in the number of games we played this season, he was the best player because he was absolutely excellent. And then you think you've got Joe Marsden, and we all know how good Joe is, arguably. Struggling to get in ahead of Jake at fullback, but the advantage of Joe is that he's just such a versatile player. You could fit him in anywhere. And then you look into the central areas, and Byron, a fantastic player, we've suffered at his hands before, and during his time at Leiston, to have him on our team is such a benefit. He's a great player. Give him a ball under any circumstances, really, and he tends to keep it for us. Noah and Heafy, really, really energetic and really solid in the middle of the pitch. And then again, we've got so many options up front now, which wasn't always the case last season with Pagey or Ingers on that right-hand side, Heafy or Marzo in the 10, Billy Hunt up top, Folksy and Millsy if you want down the left-hand side. So we've got real options because all of those players can interchange at the top of the pitch as well. So we've been really good.
Definitely, and not only in the league have we been a force to be reckoned with. When we went to Gloucester, even though we had about first half hour we struggled for a bit, after that we came into our own and in fact dominated the game and arguably unlucky to lose.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you talk about cup, so the one regret would be the performance at Hitchin, which was probably the one below par performance in the whole season, and we were out of the cup quite quickly, the FA Cup days. But again, in the trophy, had some really good performances and a good run. And as you say, we went to Gloucester, everything was against us. It's the opening of their new stadium, no fans allowed other than their own 1,000. I think the officials It was difficult in the early stages. We felt there were some decisions that didn't go our way, and that contributed to a slow start for us. And Gloucester really put us under pressure. And they got ahead in the game. But then for a fair chunk, we were really, really good. And we come back into it, scored a couple of goals, hit the post, and for the first 20 minutes of the second half, we looked the more likely, and then you did start to think there's a chance here that we could have a real upset, and then just in the end we just run out of steam a little bit, and it wasn't to be. But I think it was a fantastic performance. A lot of the players took real credit from it because it did demonstrate that we could play and compete at a high level.
Yeah, which it was no mean feat that they were top of their division as well at the time.
Yeah, absolutely. I think their home form had been excellent. They'd hardly lost. They're top of the division. Really strong team, and we competed for much of it. It's just that first probably 15-20 minutes when the long journey was probably still in us and difficult. We didn't get there till a bit late. And their fast start just caught us a little bit, which is what you find when you play teams from a higher level, is they ask some more questions of you. But we quite quickly got to grips with that. And I think if we were playing against that level of opposition every week, then we'd be able to compete. We'd be absolutely fine. It's just when you don't play against that level of opposition and it's a step up, it can sometimes just catch you, and that's what happened. Yeah.
Would your standout moment be from the season?
I'm not sure there's a standout moment. I suppose if you're going to talk about standout moments, it would be the moment we lift the county cup, because in such a curtailed season there probably weren't that many. So that would be a good one in any season. So that would be the standout moment. But when I reflect across the performances, what I'm really left with is just that sort of sense of how we passed teams off the pitch on a number of occasions at home. We were really scoring. We were averaging about 3 goals a game at home, which is absolutely excellent. So that's sort of really the standout thing, is just the way that we were able to play in the matches this season.
Very true. There was. How do I word this question? Not only on the field with the players, and not just Kev, but you and Tom must take a bit of credit for the, I guess you can say, the success of the season, considering we only lost twice in all those games we did play. So how you feel?
Yeah, absolutely. Kev is such an engaging character, and he's got so much energy, and you just like him. It's so engaging. He's one of these people that just is the absolute sort of centre of attention, and he thrives on that, and he's so good in that role. That people do sort of necessarily feed off of that. So I think, and of course, because he's had the connection with the club as well as an advantage, he doesn't come in from outside. He knows the club inside out, and he's just been able to move that knowledge into the first team space, and he knows a number of the players that are coming through. So, Kev's absolutely excellent. Tom, I can't speak highly enough of Tom, because of the work that he does in understanding the threat from opposition. It's absolutely phenomenal, and on many occasions, just due to that knowledge, he's been able to identify threats, and we've been able to nullify them, and it's saved us on a number of occasions. It's saved us goals, or it's enabled us to score goals, and that's all of the work he does behind the scenes. Add to that, he's a really good coach as well. So I think that both Kev and Tom have been excellent, and don't forget the additions in the medical team as well. So Kim's come in and work now full time with the club, and you've got Jinx there as well. And I think what comes across to the players, I would hope comes across to the players, is just how well we do get on as a unit. We really enjoy each other's company, and we're all working towards the same goal. So, that's in the course of a long season, if you don't have that relationship, then it starts to fracture. The players realise it, and it can be a downward spiral. So that's one of the main key is that we're all working towards the same goal, and we all actually enjoy each other's company.
And not just, like, you kind of mentioned it a bit earlier when you said from, like, the top of the club through to the first team. Like, even with the supporters and the directors, the playing staff, we're all a club united, and that's what made, especially the last season and before that, even more enjoyable.
Yeah, I mean, I've been back at Needham now for 7 or 8 years, and coming back with Mark on his return to the club. And I've always said that Needham is the best club that I've ever been involved with. I mean, I played a few years earlier as well, and I played for a number of different teams and been involved with a number of different teams. And Needham is just the standout. It's the best for an awful lot of reasons. It's because it has got that sort of close connection between the committee, the fans, the players, the supporters. It's all, many people take on dual roles, and so it really has that feel to it. And the way that the club's been able to move forward, not only on the pitch but also off the pitch with the development of facilities, and everybody still talks about what they're going to do next, and the next phases and the next areas of development. It's just so joined up and connected. We don't rely on one benefactor, and we don't lurch from one season of a certain budget and the next something else. It's just run, in the correct manner, and that's why I'm just pleased to be involved with the club, really, because it's just the values are right, everything's right about it.
Definitely, and striving for the continued progress and success. What would you say the targets are, if any, for next season?
I mean, targets are really, really difficult. You don't want to put sort of too much pressure on anybody, because we are a young team. But I think that the way that we started the season, I think one of the challenges, if any, will be for Kev, Tom, and I to keep the side together, because when you are successful and you're at the top end of the table, then teams and clubs do come and watch you and want to take your best players, which is, credit to us. For being able to develop the players, and of course you wouldn't stand in their way, but it's going to be trying to keep this side together. And if we can do that, and we have a little bit of luck with injuries, then there's no reason why we can't be at the top end of the table, as our start demonstrated. I think at the start of every season, we always look at the cup competitions and think, right, Suffolk County Cup, we want to be, there or thereabouts with that one. We'd certainly be looking to defend that trophy, and why shouldn't we? Because we're the top place non-league team in Suffolk, so I suppose on that basis you could say we're favourites, and we'd take that tag, no problem at all. And then you look at the FA Cup and the FA Trophy, we had a couple of good runs in the trophy last 2 seasons, and so we'd like to do that again. But I think, deep down, all the players, I think back to the FA Cup game when we lost to Cambridge in the 4th round with 2,000 people in the ground. I think all the players look at the FA Cup run and just think that it'd be nice to do something in that competition again. So I'm being a bit greedy, really, because I want to be at the top of the league and win the Suffolk Cup and do well in the other trophies. But yeah, no, we've got some opportunities next year, and I'm just really looking forward to getting back pre-season, put in, hopefully we can have an undisturbed season. We can put the last year behind us, and for the players, it's really important to get out and just get out and play some football.
Definitely. And you mentioned pre-season. I think that was kind of, not only from the last 12 months or so, I'd say, but especially from pre-season, we set the ground off running in games like that. And I know you can only play, we played teams below us then, but you can only beat what's in front of you. But we played them off the park and we won 5-0, a couple of them. And I think that had a real big impact on the consistency. Would you say?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, pre-season, if Tom has his way, we'll start back pre-season training in early May probably, and have about 18 pre-season friendlies. But you just need to get something out of it. And if there's a bit of momentum that you take into the season, then that's great. But beyond that, I'd say it's difficult, because if you play sort of teams that are a bit lower down the pyramid, you might win, but actually might not be really tested. So it's, whereas other people, sometimes you play a professional side, you lose, but you actually get more out of it. So, pre-season sometimes it's difficult to read into it. I've had pre-seasons before where we've won every game, we've lost the first league match, and it goes down as a bit of a failure. And alternatively, there's occasions where the pre-season has been poor results-wise. You haven't picked, any wins up at all, but actually you've been quite well prepared. You've got into the league season and you've got off to a bit of a flyer. So, yeah, it's always a difficult one. But last pre-season, I thought generally it went well.
With the County Cup, the Suffolk FA are hoping to continue the current season's one. And obviously, you alluded to you want to win that again, but how do you see that going from your point of view?
Yeah, well, it's going to be an interesting one, really. I don't know how there's a lot of challenges to overcome, I think, before we can talk about it, trying to finish this season's County Cup competition, because we haven't really got that far into it, have we? So there's a number of games to be played. And then players would have to get fit, and then there's the contractual scenario and about funding. So there's a lot to work through, I think, before we can start to talk about completing this year's Suffolk County Cup competition. I suppose it might be the case that they might have to roll that over into the early part of next season in a similar way to how they have operated last year's competition moving into the start of this season. So I'd be interested to see how that goes and probably await a little bit more detail.
Yep. Right, and so